Well, I called it. I called Splatoon 3, and I do want to give myself a pat on the back for that, because normally when I call things, I get them wrong. But this was a very big announcement at the very end, obviously, of Nintendo Direct. They showed quite a bit of stuff here. This is not necessarily going to be a video where I review the Nintendo Direct, although I probably will reference it from time to time. But I think Splatoon 3 is probably the biggest thing that they showed, hence why they waited until the very end to show. Now, The Legend of Zelda, the Super Mario Golf, you know what? I'm not an avid golf fan, but I do love golf games in general, and so this is one that definitely excites me. There were some games here and there, Tales from the Borderlands. There were a couple really, really good announcements, and so while not everything was the huge knock it out of the park thing that a lot of people want, I think people wanted Breath of the Wild 2. I think people wanted Pokemon. When you have over 1 million people in the chat, or I guess watching it, and then you have the chat moving faster than the speed of sound, you can't keep track of everything, but I did see quite a few people having some not great things to say about the Nintendo Direct. Splatoon 3 is very, very exciting. Now, we talked about this. This was literally one of our predictions the day of, actually yesterday, right? We talked about some things that I think could be there, and Splatoon 3 was kind of my big thing. I thought Breath of the Wild 2 was a possibility. I didn't go 2 for 2, although they did say in the Nintendo Direct, they did talk about Breath of the Wild 2 and the fact that there is nothing new and that they will be showing us or talking about it more later this year. So technically that was, I guess, verbally mentioned, but it wasn't shown. Splatoon 3 is very exciting. I talked about it in that video. I'm not even the biggest Splatoon fan. I think that's kind of what maybe some people realize when they're watching the trailer, is like, you know what? I'm not the biggest fan, but I am kind of excited for a game like this. And I think that's what this game's power is. All of the, I shouldn't say all, but most of Nintendo's exclusive games end up doing insanely well. And Splatoon is definitely one of them. Splatoon started as more of a smaller game that not too many people knew about, but as it grew, I mean, it's only had 2 games, but Splatoon 2 did insanely. I believe it sold over 10 or maybe even over 15 million units on the Nintendo Switch, so this is a big deal. This is a game that is a big deal, and Splatoon 3 coming out in 2022, so we got it right. We predicted it. We said it. Nintendo lied to us, which is in a good way. This is one of those lies that we think in a good way. They were talking, obviously, about how we would get Smash Bros. And we would get a lot of games that would release in the first half of the year. Now, a couple games actually said summer. I believe one of them even said August, which isn't the first half of the year. So they kind of, extended the boundaries there. And then when they showed the trailer for Splatoon, in the beginning, I was like, oh, dear Jesus, like, here we go. Like, they're going to talk about how this game is coming out this summer, which is kind of what we thought. It's what I predicted even in that video. And then instead, no, we ended up getting it or coming out in 2022, which is quite a while away. That's okay. We talked about it before. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is most likely that big fall game. Seems like the Super Mario Golf is like the first half or like the summer game. Breath of the Wild 2 maybe won't make it this year. Again, I think Pokemon might. Metroid, with no talk about it, and obviously with a interesting development period that Metroid 4 has had, that one probably isn't coming out this year either. But still, Splatoon 3 is very, very exciting. Looks good. Obviously, it didn't show almost anything at all, but Splatoon 2, from everything that I had seen of it, now again, I haven't actually played either of those 2 games, but I'm kind of a fan from the outside. I'm excited. This will definitely be the first Splatoon game that I super jump into, and I'm very, very excited for it. So I overall enjoyed it. I know people will probably have some very negative things to say about it because there were probably 2 to 4 standout things. But in reality, Xbox Game Showcase, they do the same thing. State of Play, they do the same thing. It's kind of centered around a couple of bombshell announcements, a couple big things. You could argue the big things of this aren't as big as some of the other things that have been talked about. And then the rest of it is kind of just, it's going to interest some people. It's not going to interest others. Obviously, a lot of games that have that already exist in the world are coming to the Switch. Fall Guys and many, many more. And some of them look really interesting and some of them just don't. And I know people are probably going to say that, and that's completely okay. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what'd you think? What'd you think of the Nintendo Direct? What'd you think about Splatoon 3? What'd you think about the lack of some announcements? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, the bell icon turned on. If you guys want to join our Discord server, the link for that is in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Can't wait to cover quite a few of these Nintendo games that they announced at this Nintendo Direct. I'll be doing that on this channel, on my second channel, whether it's a game that comes out this year or in the future. I hope to see you guys for those videos.